Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful March 3rd, 2021. This episode will be playing March 3rd and March 4th, respectively. Coming up with the podcast, fake leadership, fake safety, more quarantine hotel BS, and more lackluster performances from our city officials. All that and more coming up in the show. Stick around. Listener discretion is advised.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me.
Yes, sir.
There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthy.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, episode 104 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck, on this beautiful March 3rd and going into March 4th, 2021. Yes, as I said in the title, fake safety, fake leadership. And if you do like and hear what you see, please click like and subscribe and share this around the YouTube and other media, social media outlets. Yes, as I said, fake safety, fake leadership. So now in independent news and in some parts of the mainstream media, we are also hearing and seeing everything about these COVID hotels. You know, people fly from out of the country, land in either Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, or Vancouver, and they either get politely escorted into these hotels, or they get told to go to these hotels, or if they don't go to a hotel or get tested, they get a fine. And there's other people that have come from parts of the United States who get a test, yet it's not valid in Canada for some reason. So with all the speculation, hearsay, and guessing and all this stuff, especially with the mainstream media saying roughly about 3 months ago that there's not going to be any such thing as these COVID hotels. There's nothing but a conservative conspiracy. And yet there's stories popping up all over the place, i.e. from Rebel Media, True North Media, other independent outlets, Daniel Boardman, Adam Denham-Mazet, Frank P. Vaughan, and myself telling you otherwise. Now, I watched a story today, reference from Rebel Media, that Keen Bexty, their reporter for Rebel, actually went into Calgary COVID hotel. He was in Florida, apparently, covering the whole COVID issue and lifting of the restrictions and all that down in that state. And he stayed in said quarantine facility for a period of 3 days. Now, I'll leave the links in the description, what have you, all that good stuff. Let you decide for yourself what you think this is all about here. Now, did the government hand out contracts to certain hotel chains or certain groups of people saying, yeah, hold these people here and we'll give you a little bit of a slap and tickle of incentive? Because some of these hotels are charging people anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 for a detailed 3-day stay at these places. Now, when you look at Keen Bexty's report on what he went through and what he did, you know, it did cost him a few bucks, apparently, for the sake of letting the story out to tell the good people, the listeners here in Canada and everywhere else in the world that tunes into Rebel, what it really cost him. And I won't give that away. I'll let you watch the story yourself. But roughly anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 to stay there for 3 days. Now, I have been in average hotels before, and I'm sure you, my listeners, have been in average hotels too. You know, numerous trips my wife and I have taken. We've stayed overnight here, stayed overnight there, and you're looking at a price anywhere average from maybe $100 to about $140 a night, right? You have access to a gymnasium if you need it, fresh coffee in the morning, continental breakfast in the AM. You know, nothing really special. Toast and yogurt, yay. But still, you know, there's the possibilities there. But in order to stay in a place like that for 3 days, costing you anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, when you're basically served mediocre meals, half-assed meals, you know, and regardless if you have diet restrictions or not, they basically just throw some crap into a styrofoam container and go, here you go, right? Now, what gets me is that some of these establishments have ordered the quarantiners not to lock the doors, right? Not to venture outside. And if you do go outside, then you're basically handled like you are a prisoner when you're given your 1 hour a day exercise time. Quite the contrast. Now, there's another story the Rebel did too about a quarantine hotel in Montreal where 2 ladies got into trouble by the staff for locking their door because strange men were harassing them. So it's a whole shit show of what's happening over this quarantine in the name of safety, in the name of leadership. Right? Now we can sit here and very well blame Justin Trudeau for all this bullshit, and his health ministers and other municipal health ministers, for that matter. But what's really going on? You know, when you take a test in the States and they okay you to fly a plane back to Canada, and yet that test is not good enough in Canada, then what gives, right? And in the name of safety and quarantine and helping people out, why are you on the bill for some of these establishments? Why are you having to pay this amount of money for mediocre service, for basically being treated like a goddamn recruit in the military or like a prisoner in jail for the sake of what? Well, is this supposed to give people incentive not to travel? Well, of course. You know, Justin doesn't want people traveling. He only wants people to travel. You know, he wants to travel on other people's dime, and he wants to gallivant around the country. And so do some other politicians too, which has been proven since Christmas. How many conservatives, liberals, and NDPers alike have gone international for the sake of, you know, their family and friends, because to them it was essential. Yeah, bullshit. Okay? So the more and more I hear these stories where you have to pay or not pay, or where you do have to pay, but then you have to go here. But if you do pay this, then you got to buy this. And so-called security guards who are, you know, basically wearing civilian clothing, going around calling the shots. Are you really trying to help people, or are you just trying to intimidate more people? Right? We're living in uncertain times here, and these so-called leaders, their fake leadership isn't really helping. It's not. How is it helping? You know, if someone goes down to the States for a week and they have to come back, and they have the option to quarantine at home, yet in some cases they have been escorted forcefully, taken away to some hotel to sit and wait for 3 days, right? Is that not a contradiction to what the original test was? You have to quarantine for 2 weeks to make sure you're okay? Like, which is it? What kind of experiment are they planning? Yeah? What kind of grand design do they have in the works for us minions and plebes to follow in the days and months to come? Something to think about, eh, folks? Something to really, really ponder. But just the past 3 days, I have been working with my wife. We've been doing some spring cleaning. And I have a lot of time to think and reflect on the things that are important and all that good stuff, and creating a bigger bond between my wife, or a better bond between my wife and I. You know, we're trying to get our house up and ready for the spring and for the summer months, you know. Get rid of some excess baggage and get rid of some excess garbage, stuff that's been lingering around. So her and I have been working pretty hard getting this place on the go, making it ready for the spring and summertime, right? Hopefully we'll have some family and friends over without all this quarantine BS, you know, have some barbecues, have some drinks and parties, you know, just to get back to some normalcy again. But the more and more I hear these stories about people being taken off their, taken out of the airports and thrown into vans and putting into certain quarantine hotels brought to you by the federal government, you know, the Canadian taxpayer, and then certain individuals having to pay a small fortune for such lush and extravagant accommodations, you know, a half-assed waffle and a half-assed crepe in a box, you know, as a breakfast, you know. Hell, you're not even offering a guy a smoke, for God's sakes. And keeping the doors unlocked and having strange people visit you in the middle of the night, according to that lady that was sexually assaulted by an individual. I believe it was in Montreal, but I'll leave links to that in the description too. It doesn't seem too well organized, and it doesn't seem too organized in the name of safety, right? So, like I say again, what are they planning, folks? What kind of efficiency are they trying to get out of this, you know? It brings me back to my point too, where these individuals are getting paid ridiculous amounts of money to sit there and govern and to tell us what has to be done, to dictate to us what has to be done, and how we have to be this and how we have to be that, all in the name of safety and making sure that the virus doesn't get you. Oh. Meanwhile, you've got predators of every every shape and size harassing people in these facilities. You know, they have guests at some facilities. They really don't know what's going on. They have legitimate guests in some of these hotels that are going on minding their own business, and they have no idea what the fuck is going on. All right? Something to ponder.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to donate, please go to crustycanuck.ca and click on the links. I have a PayPal and a Buy Me a Coffee application. You click on there, you can give $5, $10, $15, $20, whatever you desire. I'm not going to sit here and demand cash, but I like to make this job a full-time position. So with your assistance and consideration, please consider donating today. Or you can go to my YouTube page and join any one of the tiers. For $1.99, you get a shout-out, honorable mention. For $49, you might get yourself a nice prize. And you donate once a month, you become a member of the Crusty Canuck family. So consider PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee app, or become a member of the YouTube page. We go from there. And when we're carrying on with more of this fake leadership too. Every time I hear about the quarantine, I'm not seeing too many of these politicians quarantine themselves. They might go hide in their homes and sit behind their computers in the lap of luxury, while collecting great paychecks and more dictation to us, right? More bloody dictation to tell us how to think, how to feel, what's good for us. Of course, Dr. Tam, I still chuckle when she heard Patty Haydu said last year, let's 1 minute we need masks, next minute we don't need masks, next minute we better wash our hands or we don't wash our hands. And then when it came to sexual conduct of consenting adults, using the term glory holes just blew me away. So this past year has been chaotic for everybody, ladies and gentlemen. In all walks of life. Doesn't matter if you work at a factory or if you're construction. Doesn't matter if you're a doctor or a lawyer or a politician or a soldier, police officer, firefighter. Everybody has been affected by this ridiculous bullshit. Now, I'm not denying that this virus is not real, but when you have a 99 or 98.9 or 99.8% survival rate from this, and we all know the hospitals aren't being overwhelmed and all this crap, it makes you think. And then when you hear about these COVID hotels or these quarantine facilities, they say, when they're really just hotels under whatever contract that the government has conspired or try to put together half-assed, it makes you think that leadership in this country has really gone off half-cocked and really, really full of shit. And it doesn't matter what party you follow or not. It's just that every side is making some fucking ridiculous excuse. Anyhow, here's a message from my sponsors.
In October of 2015, Lindsay Robbins, like many of her fellow Canadians, was struggling with the turmoil of mental illness. The ups and downs of what she was going through was shaping her realities, and she longed for structure. As luck would have it, that structure presented itself to her in the form of gardening. And through gardening, Lindsay had an awakening that led her to create Produce for Heroes. Lindsay realized that our veterans were going through their own mental struggles, and through her own experience, she realized the power of community. By desiring to help the way that she had been helped, she has created a program that provides relief to veterans. Her food program, which aims to provide veterans and their families relief from the stresses of food insecurity and help alleviate the cost of living for those that have sacrificed so much for their country. Whether it's through directly contacting Produce for Heroes or through a friend's referral, all veterans and their families living in Canada are welcome. By shining a light on the struggle of veterans and their families, Lindsay is hoping to get her fellow Canadians to hop on board and support Produce for Heroes and our great veterans. If you or a veteran you know needs help, produceforheroes.com is a great place to start.
This is Brian Boucher, the new CEO of Canuck Gold Corp. We have gold at 99% purity with discounts ranging from $100 up to $200 off the ounce. This is the right place to buy, from 2-gram cards to 400-ounce bricks. We have any quantity of gold you are looking for. We also sell by the ton, not like your ex-wife. Visit us today at canundgold.com, C-A-N-U-N-D gold.com.
Yes, you can reach Scott at Brian at canundgold.com and look for Lindsay at Produce for Heroes. Links will be in the description. Carrying on with other news today, yes, according to the Canadian press, the Kilberger brothers, the honchos of the We charity and the We scandal and all that all that good stuff. The organization that Mr. Trudeau was going to give roughly, I think, what was it, $500 million or $900 million to? Close to $1 billion. Anyway, the headline from Canadian Press is, Kilbeggar brothers decline request to testify before partisan Commons committee. Okay, this is taken in Ottawa. We Charity co-founders Craig and Mark Kilberger are declining requests to testify before two House of Commons committees. I wonder why. In a statement Wednesday, the charity noted that new Democrat MP Charlie Angus has requested the RCMP and the Canada Revenue Agency investigate WE's operations. The charity said it would be unfair to subject it to partisan committee investigation at the same time. How would they be partisan? I think they'd be nonpartisan, really, because it was a Liberal plan to pick you guys, to give you guys a whack of money so you can make a handful of rich kids feel special because they're helping, right? Anyhow, while we charity would welcome and cooperate with any potential investigation conducted by these agencies, RCMP and CRA, no organization should be subject to both an investigation of the same matters by a partisan parliamentary committee which wishes to carry out its own substitute investigation, the charity said. Okay, well, I'm not going to read the rest of this. I'll leave this link in the description for you guys to read, but I know I smell a shit sandwich. They were guilty, period. They were guilty, folks, period. How else do you say it, right? They all sidestepped the whole issue. Charlize Chagger, she sidestepped her part in it. Trudeau sidestepped his part in it. Every other member of cabinet who had anything to do with the We Charity has been proven unworthy, really. Honestly, think about it, folks. You have a government that's putting the country into debt as we speak every day. A few dollars here, a few dollars there, a few more here, a few more there. And then they turn around last year and they try to give away almost $1 billion to one charity, okay, where they can invest that almost $1 billion into the country eternally with other things, i.e., well, clean water for reservations, clean water Canada-wide, helping people get back to work, regardless of the CERB or the CEMA payments they keep extending and trying to win votes in favor for. Okay, regardless of the UBI motion they've tabled too, right? So I don't give a fuck if these two spoiled brats think it's unfair or not. They got caught with their fucking pants down, whipping their skippies at the Canadian taxpayers' expense. So what do you expect? Like I say, my listeners, I'll let you decide. You decide what you think is right. We all know it was a shady effing deal. We all know they were caught, and we all know they're corrupt. Right? Which brings me to my next segment. I've been using the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit accolades and award, and I give it to certain government officials or certain government conglomerates or people that call themselves leaders, and they fail to lead. Right? So, what I'm going to give the Polar Vortex Award to this week, drumroll please, and the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit Award goes to two groups this time. Yes, the City of Toronto for suing a man by the name of Khalil. Sorry, I got it here. I should have done this. I should have done this better. But Khalil Sevrite, who tried to build homeless shelters for the homeless, and to the wankers that try to cancel Dr. Zeus. So, ladies and gentlemen, the award of Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit goes to the City of Toronto for trying to sue Mr. Khalil Sevrite and the people that tried, or I guess have successfully, gotten rid of, I think, 2 Dr. Zeus books. So here you go, wankers. Here's your prize.
The Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit
goes to the City of Toronto being a bunch of idiots and the people that canceled Dr. Zeus. Now, I'll talk briefly here about Mr. Khalil Sevrite. Since March 2020, the City of Toronto has permanently housed more than 2,000 individuals experience homelessness. That is an increase of 50% over this time last year, but there's still not enough space to house every person seeking refuge. That's why a carpenter named Khalil Sevrite tried to step in. He started building makeshift shelters that could stay warm even in minus 20 temperatures from the body heat of its residents alone. His online fundraising page quickly skyrocketed past his target of $20,000, and with no time, Khalil was working 7 days a week in his garage to build and provide free mobile shelters across Toronto. But as often in this case, no good deed goes unpunished. This is a story of how Toronto man's ingenuous help. Oh, the page stopped here. Oh, bear with me, folks. Basically, I'll leave the article in the description section for you. It's been a long day for me here. But I'll leave the article for you guys to read. And when this carpenter decided that he was going to do this for the homeless, he basically built a shelter that would house one person, keep them warm based on their body heat, reflective insulation, all that good stuff. Now, there was a situation where one person was actually killed because one of them caught on fire. The story was that this individual had a candle. He wasn't looking after it, and he basically set himself ablaze. But the City of Toronto figured they would sue this man for using his initiative. Now, I don't know about you, but if anybody takes the initiative to do something like that for the community, for the greater good, I would say you give him a prize, or you give him $100,000 for his efforts, because this guy took it upon himself to help people in need. And the big conglomerates of the City of Toronto figured, okay, we're going to sue this individual because they're making us look bad, right? So obviously they weren't doing enough work to help the homeless in their city. And this guy took it upon himself and volunteered and raised money to build said materials, to build things, to help people, right? And he didn't care if they're black or white or Asian or they identified as this or identified as that. He took it upon himself to help people. And the City of Toronto tries to fuck him for it. Well, I'll probably give updates later on in regards to this man's case. But that story kind of stuck with me there. Here's a guy who took it upon himself to do something wonderful, and his own city trying to screw him for it, right? And the second winner of the Canadian polar vortex of bullshit goes to people that try to shut down or have, I guess, successfully taken 6 books out of the Dr. Seuss library because they fail to be inclusive. Now, regardless of how old you are or not, I know Dr. Seuss books have been a staple in every child's life, one way or the other. Everything from watching How the Grinch Stole Christmas at Christmas time to Horton Hears a Who. I remember those books being read to me when I was a kid. And it never altered my perception and how people look or how I react. It was just, there were fun stories and there were great learning curves, how to put words together and how to really explore the English language for what it is. Beautiful. But I don't know, folks. I'm just getting so sick and tired of this fucking woke mandate BS. And these so-called fake victims and fake leaders talking about, oh my God, you're displaying images that were so unfair and so disingenuous. And yet half of these books were written many years ago. Many years ago when people's perceptions were a bit different. They weren't blatantly racist. They weren't blatantly sexist. They weren't blatantly misogynist. It was just perceptions that people had. And regardless of how you dress it up, you're not going to change history. So I really wish these victimhood Mongols, these victimhood mongers sitting there worrying about feelings and perceptions, get a goddamn grip of yourselves first. And who the fuck are you guys to erase history? Right? Doesn't matter if it's a Dr. Seuss book. Doesn't matter if it's an encyclopedia or a picture from fucking 72 years ago or 82 years ago. Quit fucking with it. Leave it alone. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. How else do you say it? How would you like me to dress it up for you? Hey? How would you like me to present this for you? Just so you don't get offended. And what gets me too is that half of these people who have persecuted people like Khalil for building things for people and helping people, and the other individuals that have had all this wonderful education when it comes to social structure and understanding all our feelings and how we should get along, don't have the goddamn couth to sit back and think for a minute before they act. Okay? How is society going to benefit if you take these books away? What else are you going to censor too? Well, we know you've already censored a lot of big media. Big media does its own censorship too, right? You're going to get rid of coloring books too because certain colors in a crayon box tend to be a little more divisive or non-inclusive. What is it? You going to tell people how to color within the lines or without the lines? Right? Or are we just going to give kids cans of paint and hope for the best and, pray for the worst? Which is it? I don't know. I just, I get so fucking tired of these people.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Anyway, carrying on with fake safety and fake leadership, I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Yes, coming up this Thursday on the Crusty Canuck Thursday Fastball, where I go live on YouTube and Facebook. My guest this week will be a Ms. Valerie Keefe, an Edmontonian, very, very outspoken in regards to political and social structures, has a background in economics, and we had a talk there last Sunday on the Adam Daniel Mazet Hidden Gem live stream, and just a very, very stimulating intellectual human being, a very decent human being. So please tune into that if you can, ladies and gentlemen. That's every Thursday, the Crusty Canuck Thursday Fastball, broadcasted live via YouTube and Facebook by the good people at StreamYard. So please check that out too. And make sure, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to ask questions about myself or my guest, keep them clean, keep them real. We don't care if you drop an F-bomb or a C-bomb here and there. But if you're just going to be a bunch of vulgar pricks or be vulgar in general just for the sake of it because you want to get a row out of me or my guest, you're wasting your time. So stay tuned for that this Thursday at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and 6 p.m. to my Eastern listeners too. Right? And it'll be 3 p.m. to my West Coast listeners. So tune into that. Like I say, Crusty Canuck Fastball, Thursday Fastball. Brought to you by Livestream. It'll be live on YouTube and Facebook. And again, carrying on with more fake safety and more fake leadership. It's getting to the point, like I said, the past 3 days, my wife and I have been cleaning. So I haven't paid attention to a lot of the news and more of these COVID updates. I know the vaccine issue is still up in the air, right? The procurement is just still another effing joke. And what gets me, ladies and gentlemen, too, is that every time there's been a liberal government in regards to procuring things, it's always been a shit show. Now, from my time serving in the military, from my time deploying with the military overseas, a couple of tours here and there, some taskings here and there, a couple of visits to the States, a visit to France, what have you. Procurement has always been a major issue because as far as I know, there's a board of individuals that sit in the procurement office, the procurement ministry, right? And there's about 30 or 40 of them that sit there and scratch their butts, scratch their balls, scratch their nose, pick each other's nose, and they really can't make a solid decision when it comes to getting anything done, right? Now, all these buzzwords have been buzzing around about which vaccine is better, which vaccine's good. You got Moderna, you got Pfizer, you've got these other ones. Fuck, I can't even pronounce half the goddamn names of them. But do we even know that they're efficient? Are they working? Now, let's say if everybody got their 2 shots in, does that mean they're going to lift these mask issues Canada-wide? Are they going to stop the social distancing issues? What's going to happen? You hear the odd story about someone passing out or getting sick because of said vaccines. So what's going on? What's going on? If anyone has any suggestions on, what these vaccines can do to help us in the long run, please send me an email, crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. Right? Or like I said, in the above mentioned, you can reach me at different social platforms too. Pay attention to my community page and Facebook page for updates. But if you have any suggestions, please let me know. I had a fan send me a whack of emails there a couple of weeks back, and I'm still going through them as we speak. So pardon me for not catching up to my reading, but there's a lot of theories out there and a lot of speculation, and rightfully so, right? Because a lot of theories and speculation have put a lot of people in very, very terrible positions, right? Let's take a look at what's going on here, especially out here in Western Canada, right? How many young people have come across opioids? How many people in general have contemplated suicide because of these restrictions and lockdowns? Now, I know Alberta has been more laid back than Ontario and a good part of La Belle Province, right? But like I remind you listeners, my fans out there too, a lot of these bigwigs are still getting fucking paid, Well, a lot of us, plebe folk and young folk and crazy folk and working class folk are still getting shafted, right? And with the speculation of an upcoming election, you can obviously tell that the potato party has been, trying to win favor again. Oh, we're going to bring the vaccines in now, and we're going to give more CERB and more SEBA payments, and we're going to table UBI. So therefore, more people are going to be reliant on government teats to look after them. Now, the way I look at government, it should be providing peace, security, and freedom. Peace where you can go out and mind your business. Security meaning that your peace is secured. And freedom to choose, freedom to be, however you identify, doesn't matter. Freedom to pray, freedom to drink, freedom to dance, freedom to kiss your wife or your loved one, or honor and respect your loved ones, to hang out with your loved ones, love who you want, all that good stuff. And yet this past year has been a test of that. And yet, what's been done? It's nice to see the weather's getting better. Things are warming up where I am. That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to spring. I'm looking forward to gardening. I'm looking forward to the summer. I'm looking forward to jumping in my fucking camper and taking my wife to a nice place. I might even go see my family back in Ontario. I might see some friends in the States. I don't know. The options are there, right? That's if we're allowed to. But if they're going to keep everything locked up and keep feeding us the fat of the land based on the expenses of other people, then I don't want that, right? And if they do call an election in the late spring, are they going to have the same thing? Like I've said, I put my hat in the ring for the Veterans Coalition Party, ladies and gentlemen. I want to run. I made that very clear in my last episode, too. I would like to run. I would like to represent the Crowfoot Battle River area as a member of Parliament on your behalf. So if anybody in this area is listening to this show right now, please weigh in. Give me a thumbs up. You got my email. You can contact me via Facebook. You can contact me via YouTube in the comments section, too. And if you like and hear what you see, please share and like and subscribe and promote this. Promote this shit out of every independent video you see. Keep the algorithm going. Help us independent folk out. But I'm going to run. I want to run. And I think I can make a difference, whether I scratch the surface or not. And I'm not going to sit here and promise this and promise that. All I can say is I will roll my sleeves up and I will fight the good fight in the name of the Canadian taxpayer, in the name of this country, in the name of the people in this riding. All right? Because I, for one, I'm getting so sick and tired of the misrepresentation. Now, I'm not saying certain leaders are not pulling their weight enough, but there isn't a lot of communication going on. And there's not enough people in Parliament right now asking the tough questions and demanding the fucking answers as they should. Yes, we have the token individuals that might say this and say that, but a lot of these people aren't Pierre Poilievre. And they're not the Ed Broadbents. They're not the John Turners. They're not the real fucking fighters out there that actually stood up for something bigger than their fucking wallets and their bank accounts. Right? Something to think about, folks.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
As I say again, back to more fake safety and more fake leadership. And if Mr. Khalil Sevite is listening right now, hats off to you, sir, for your effort. Well done. And well done for you for fighting the good fight and doing what you think is right for humanity, right? When I always say after the end of my show, humanity merit wins the day, I say it for a reason, because I believe in doing what you can to help each other out. I believe in the bottom of my soul, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm not religious, but I believe to the bottom of my soul that the more you try to help people, the better life gets. And I'm not saying go out and help people just so you can pat yourself on the back and get yourself a great reward at the end of the day. Just simple gestures of kindness and courtesy. This man took it upon himself to build shelters for the less fortunate. His own labor, some of his own time, and yes, he raised some money. But I guess the powers that be in Toronto didn't want to look bad, so they got to turn around and sue somebody. Here's an incentive right there for leadership. How about they help the guy out as he built these shelters? Why wouldn't they just give him a call and say, here, we can provide some trucks for you, and we can help you with a certain cost here and there, and we can help you deliver these shelters in certain spots of the city that need them the most. That would probably be a little more beneficial than trying to sue this guy over one accident because someone's incompetence, right? That would have been a little more beneficial. And when it comes to these COVID hotels, why aren't more of these fucking health officials telling us the truth when it comes to it? Instead of sitting there brushing it under the rug like it's some dirty stepchild with a speech impediment. You know what I mean? So if they do call an election in June, let's get ready for it, folks. Well, time to flip the desks over to get these students we call politicians to smarten up and to remember that they work for us. We don't work for them, right? Something to put in your pipe and smoke later on, but I think you catch my drift here, right? It's just, luckily I chuckle about this. Luckily I still have a good little chuckle, and I just shake my head going, WTF, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, right? As like I said in my last episode, crack don't smoke itself, and yet these people are living proof that it doesn't. Oh my God.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.
Exactly, you know? But as I always say too, you know, every time I hear these so-called leaders speak and they try to make sense of their bullshit and just keep handing us word salad after word salad after word salad. Like there's a big shit show going on now with our defense ministers. Apparently Harjit Sajjan knew that Mr. Vance had an affair, apparently. Now, mind you, this came from Michelle Rempel. You know, she's a member of Parliament from Calgary with the Conservative Party. But I'll leave a link to her speech there too. And I don't know. It just seems like every time the Liberals have been in charge of anything nationally or everything politically, it turns into a shit show, right? And it's safe to say that the Liberal brand is not what it used to be. And I've said that numerous times, right? So what are they trying to cover up? What are they trying to hide, right? You know, are we going to be invaded if a certain general was caught stooping a junior officer? Are we going to go to war somewhere because some general was, you know, having some bum fun somewhere? I don't know. You know, I don't know what the logic of these people have anymore, honestly. You can throw all the education they have together and all the essays they've written, whatever citations they've written, whatever papers they've written, whatever they produced in their glory days of post-secondary academia, and you still wouldn't get a goddamn answer. So as far as I'm concerned, again, they deserve
absolutely nothing.
Yeah, that's to sum it up, really. I really don't deserve much. So, to end this podcast in this beautiful 3rd of March and 4th of March, like I said, this is an episode for these 2 days. Because once this is done and recorded, it'll be the 4th of March. Because like I said, I've been busy spring cleaning with my wife, having a great time, making sure our house is ready and up in order for the spring and summer months. Getting things done, you know, things we put off during the wintertime because of bad morale and just the consensus in this area. But no, we shall persevere, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, if you like and hear what you see, please click like, subscribe, share this around. And as a reminder, too, again, I will be live tomorrow evening at 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m., 3 p.m. Western. Right? And my guest will be Miss Valerie Keefe, an outspoken political and social activist from Edmonton with a background of economics and just an all-around decent human being to have a great talk with. And two, every Sunday, I'm also a member of the panel on the Hidden Gem podcast hosted by Adam Daniel Mazet, and I'll leave a link to his work as well, too. Check his work out. And we sit and we discuss politics and shop. And also check out Frank P. Vaughan and Fred Stockman, a young man from Massachusetts, who's getting into the political spectrum of things, who's slowly getting into Canadian politics, too, because I'm teaching him. Yes. Anyhow, folks, please check those above mentioned. And regardless of how trying these times are, and regardless of what light is trying to protrude through the darkness, we can do what we can. We can overcome. We have to back up people like Khalil, like I mentioned, a guy who was building shelters for the homeless, doing what he can for less fortunate. Give a little bit extra to the food bank. Help your neighbors out too. You know, give your neighbors a hand. If someone needs some groceries, give them a few extra groceries. Give them a few extra bucks. Pat them on the back, you know. A lot of people are moving around again, coming out of the darkness we called winter, especially this COVID winter. And just do what we can to help each other out, regardless. Never mind the snitch lines. Never mind the Carls and Karens out there who've got nothing better to do except tattle on people. Right? Never mind the cancel culture out there, because there's no bloody fucking different than McCarthyism back in the 1950s. Right? The left will eat its own eventually. Traditional leftists and traditional rightists, we all fucking know better. Even people down the middle, we all know better. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. If you want to buy your kids Dr. Zeus, then buy them fucking Dr. Zeus. If you want to drink Pepsi, right? Who gives a shit? You know, my lifestyle's not going to change because Coca-Cola has a brand new fucking soft drink. I just don't buy their bullshit, right? New Coke didn't do so well back in the 80s, so their new mandate's not going to do so well either. But somehow this is all up. I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 3rd and 4th of March. Like I say, tune into the live stream tomorrow night, the Crusty Canuck Thursday Fastball with Valerie Keefe. And like I say, take care of yourselves, look after your friends and loved ones, do what you can to help each other out the best we can. Remember, tax time is coming too, so that's kind of a hint in the air too for the government. So watch your pennies, folks, and do what you can. And like I always say, remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see some of you tomorrow night. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally welcome.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.